Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur
धूलाय संजय मुकुंद वासु घोषाधिकाय शंख बाजे घंट बाजे बज करतार मधुर मृदंग बाजे परम रसाला Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Shri Chaitanya 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 Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Ashtottara Siddha Shishimani Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadip Mayapur Dham ki jai. Eka Chakra Gram ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shama Beta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nityananda Triyodasi ki jai. Gaur Prem Anande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Hari Hari Bol.
Namaste Narasingaya. Namaste Narasingaya.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna.
Krishna Krishna.
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Rama Rama.
Rama Rama.
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Welcome everyone. Those that are here gathered in the temple room, as well as those that are joining us on our YouTube channel. Happy Nityananda Triyodasi, the appearance day, transcendental appearance day of Sri Nityananda Ram. We're here in the presence of Shri Gaur Nitai on this auspicious day. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani and Shri Radhashar Bihari, under the guidance of His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. So today, it's the first time in about a month and a half we've opened up the temple. So we wanted to hold it on this particular day because we wanted devotees to come. We were going to hold it yesterday, but we figured people may choose between coming either on a Sunday or a Monday. We wanted everybody to come and assemble to get the mercy of Lord Nityananda. Today is also Valentine's Day. So you see that there's some flower vases up front. Traditionally through the years, this has been a big fundraising day for the temple, this kind of Philadelphia. We would go to the train stations and we would just sell flowers, and the money would go to Krishna. So Gauranga Prabhu was here, and he was a big member of that. Him and Ganapati and other devotees, Shri Brajdaran, and all the devotees would come together, and they really serve really, really hard, days and days. So last couple of years we haven't been able to have it because of COVID. Train stations, they don't allow you to do it right now. But we've been in the spirit of keeping it going. They're still offering roses to the deities, and some people have purchased roses for their loved ones. Some people wanted them to give out, and some people purchased roses just to offer directly to Shri Radhashar Bihari, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra, and Shri Gaur Nitai. So if you're interested in doing that, there are some roses still left at the front desk, and you can pick them up. There's also some cookies as well that come along with it. And they can, like I said, either be offered directly to the deities, or you can take them with you. There's some that are already offered, if you want to give them to a loved one, or if you want to take them to your altar at home and offer them to your Krishna deity at home, that can also be done. There's some that are unaltered. So tonight we've come together to glorify Lord Nityananda, Sri Nityananda Ram Ki. So we are going to talk a little bit about the glories of Lord Nityananda, and then we're going to have a Pushpa Abhishek. So there'll be more kirtan and flower bathing of the deities. So we'll start off by chanting the invocation to the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and we will read some verses, selected verses from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and then also discuss a little bit about the life and pastimes of Lord Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
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 Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Namo Vishnu Padaya Vishnu Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityananda Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Devi Shesha Srinivani Paschatya Desha Tarine Om Aginata Brandasha Genanjana Shalakaya Chakshur Kumbhanitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So there's a verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila 8:23, that states, Nityananda Balite Hai Krishna Premadaya Alaya Shakala Anga Ashru Gangavaya. Simply by talking of Nityananda Prabhu, one awakens his love for Krishna. Thus all his bodily limbs are agitated in ecstasy, and tears flow from his eyes like waters of the Ganges. So this talk of glorifying Lord Nityananda and his transcendental activities is very much encouraged by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj. So Lord Nityananda is not different than Lord Balaram. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not different than Lord Krishna. And just as Krishna is glorified as the source of all avatars, Etejam Sakalavum Sam, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Sukham, then all the portions, the plenary portions, all the various incarnations, their source is Lord Krishna. The first expansion of Lord Krishna is Lord Balaram. So they are also similarly expansions of Lord Balaram. That includes all the various Vishnu expansions, Karnadakshaya Vishnu or Mahavishnu, where the causal ocean of the material world begins. Is just a plenary or portion of expansion of Lord Balaram, and down to Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, from which Lord Brahma comes out of the navel of Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, which enters into each universes and manifests as the super soul and accompanies the individual soul here in the material world, and directs the wanderings of the living entities, as described in the Bhagavad Gita. In that way, as the super soul is the manifestation of the guru is the external manifestation of the super soul, the form directed from within. And in that way, Lord Nityananda also represents, as the first expansion, the first guru, or the primary guru. Lord Nityananda is thus seen as being the first assistant, or the first expansion of Sri Chaitanya, as Lord Balaram is the first expansion of Lord Krishna, is there to assist and accompany the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. So it is said here in the Adi Lila 5.5, these two, Krishna and Balaram, are one of the same identity. They differ in form only. Lord Balaram is the first bodily expansion of Krishna, and he assists in Lord Krishna's transcendental pastimes. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, Balaram is a Samsha expansion of the Lord. And therefore, there is no difference in the potency between Krishna and Balaram. The only difference is their bodily structure. As the first expansion of Godhead, Balaram is the chief deity among the first quadruple forms. And he is the foremost assistant of Sri Krishna in his transcendental activities. So we can see that in Lord, as we'll talk about, in Lord Nityananda's pastimes, was there to assist and serve Lord Chaitanya, to serve the Lord, to engage others in his service, and also to give transcendental knowledge. That is the accompanying of Lord Nityananda in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Now, Lord Nityananda, he appeared in a town. Does anybody know that name of that town? Ekachakra. And do you know what year he appeared? Anybody? 1474. AD. 1474. And he was the son of Hadai Pandit and Padmavati, that's correct. And he had a particular liking to dramas, doing dramas when he was a young boy. And he was very expert in engaging the kids around the same age and engaging in those dramas, particularly of the different avatars of the Lord. And so much so that when people saw him do this, they felt that he was extremely empowered. In fact, he was just a young boy, but he was doing them so expertly and engaging so many people and inspiring so many people in doing these dramas. In particular, he excelled in doing dramas of Lord Ramchandra, where he played the role of, anybody guess? Lakshmana, yes. And in Krishna's pastimes, he played the role of Balaram. One day, a traveling sannyasi came by, and naturally, Lord Nityananda's parents, they served him, they welcomed him in, and they tried to give him whatever they had, and they said, what could we do to serve you? And he says, right now I don't have a traveling companion, and a very nice offering to me would be if you would allow your son to come and, be my servant. And in one sense, this was a great honor, but at the same time, he was only 12 years old, going on to 13, and there would be great separation. But yet they offered, so he had to, they had to go through with it. So from that age, at a very young age, Lord Nityananda, he began to travel on pilgrimage all throughout India. This went on for 20 years. So he left when he was 12, and all throughout for 20 years until he was 32. It was at that age. So during that time, it stated that he took initiation from Lakshmipati Tirtha, but he also a disciple of Lakshmipati Tirtha, Madhavendra Puri. So he also considered Madhavendra Puri to be his spiritual master and served him. He went to Vrindavan, and while in Vrindavan, experiencing the transcendental ecstasies of a holy dham in which Krishna and Balaram personally played there, he understood that Lord Chaitanya, who was situated in Navadvip, he was wrapping up his childhood pastimes. And it was at that time the mission of Sankirtan was about to begin. So he left Vrindavan, and then in the year 1506, he arrived in Navadvip and reunited with Lord Chaitanya. So it was at that time that the Sankirtan movement began. Lord Chaitanya, he came into this world to deliver this message of Harinam Sankirtan, to broadcast the transcendental glories of the holy name, and to engage people in the direct service of Krishna. He did what no other avatar has ever done, gave pure loving devotion to Krishna, to anyone who wanted it, without considering their qualification. Something extremely rare. And you may ask, why? How could that happen? In the Adi Lila, 8th chapter, 21st verse, it's stated, Swantantra Ishwara Prema Vigu Bandara Bailayari Tari Na Kaliya Vichara. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, is fully independent. Therefore, although it was the most confidentially stored benediction, he can distribute love of Godhead to anyone and everyone without consideration. So how can he do it? Because he's fully independent and he can do whatever he would like. Srila Prabhupada comments, this is the benefit of Lord Chaitanya's movement. If one somehow or other comes in contact with the Hare Krishna movement without consideration of his being Sudra, Vaishya, Jagai or Madai, or lower, he becomes advanced in spiritual consciousness and immediately develops love of God. We now have actual experience that throughout the entire world, this movement is making many such persons lovers of God, simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Actually, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has appeared as the spiritual master of the entire world. He does not discriminate between offenders and the innocent. Krishna Prema Pradayate. He liberally gives love of Godhead to anyone and everyone. This can be actually experienced. So, I'll read another verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita in glorification of Lord Nityananda. Premi Madhya Nityananda Kripa Avatar Uttama Adama Kichu Na Kare Vichar. Because he is intoxicated with ecstatic love and is an incarnation of mercy, he does not distinguish between good and bad. So this prema is the highest stage of bhakti. And this is what Lord Chaitanya came to bring. And his associates, headed by Lord Nityananda, acted as his distributors of this. In fact, it is stated that by Bhaktivinoda Thakur that he actually formed a marketplace of the holy name and began to distribute the holy name in Navadvip from this marketplace. But this prema is stated that it all begins with a little bit of faith, a dalshara. And from that little bit of faith, one gets the association of saintly people, sadhu sangha, that can talk about and engage one in the service of Krishna. That's the third stage, the service to the Lord, bhajana kriya. And then from there, one actually gets, the process of detachment from one's old material life begins to take place. And that can be a very, very long, difficult stage. We've been here in the material world for a very, very long time, and the detachment, this anartha nivritti process, can be very, very difficult. But when one passes through that point, one gets to the point of a fixed consciousness and develops a taste, a ruchi. And then gradually love comes on, and then pure love. Pure love is described as that which is not tinged with our false ego, with our selfishness to want to enjoy, but actually to give unconditionally. That is what Lord Chaitanya came to give. That is the eternal nature of the soul. And he came to wake up the conditioned souls and re-engage them back into their eternal nature. This, however, is a very rare thing. Extremely, extremely rare thing. We may think, okay, we have access to it right now. So yeah, it's there. We can get a book when we want to get a book, and we can listen to a class when we want to listen to a class, and we say, okay, yes, this is very nice. Thank you very much. You know, I'll think about it. I'll consider it. But the direct access to this is extremely rare, so rare that it happens once in the life of Brahma. 8 billion, 640 million years goes by. And not to say that the world is completely bereft of it. There may be some sages that are absorbing this within their hearts, that are completely removed from this world, but made available to the people on the streets, to make available to the public. This isn't there. Now, there's lots of religions that teach patience, they teach goodness, they teach surrender to God. But to actually know who that God is, what are the activities of the transcendental world? Who are we really? How does this, and what is our eternal relationship to God? And to actually be able to serve God with a loving mood. Growing up, what was really, which is very common, especially within Christian traditions, other Jewish traditions, Islamic traditions, is to fear God. God is very powerful. Do not sin, because wrath will come upon you. God will not be pleased. And in that mood of fear, one actually, it prevents, it checks the true flow of devotion that is inherent within the heart of every living entity. So to bring that out, to reawaken that, without consideration of your birth, your education, whether you're rich or poor, intelligent or not, big or small, weak or strong, without considering any of these as pre-qualifications. Lord Chaitanya came to flood the world with Krishna Bhakti. That is why Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya are known as the Kripa avatar. They're known as the avatars that have come to give unconditionally. Now, the next verse states that Ye age padai tare kari nishtara aitaiva nishtarilambo hena durachara. He delivers all those who fall down before him. Therefore, he has delivered such a sinful and fallen person as me. So this marketplace that Lord Nityananda created, it was actually stated that from Bhaktivinoda Thakur that he was actually selling the holy name. And sometimes this is controversial because sometimes there's kirtans that are there, and people have to pay to go to chant the holy names. Or there are gurus that will give a mantra for the price, for a particular price. And that was obviously spoken out against because it should be very freely given. There shouldn't be any price that is assigned to Krishna's name. So what does Lord Nityananda pay? What is the price? Here it is saying, one of those who fall down before him, he will deliver that fallen person. So it's stated that Sharavana Janahe, the Bhaktivinoda Thakur song, Narya Gotruma Nityananda Mahajan, Arya Chainama Hata Jivarakana, Sharavana Janahe, Sharavana Janahe. Just for a little drop of that faith, the first stage of bhakti, just a little bit of interest. If you just show a little bit of interest, Lord Nityananda will bring you into the system and deliver you. One falls down. One time, Srila Prabhupada, he was in a conversation with a young man, and he says, I believe we are all equal. I can't accept the fact that somebody is superior. And Srila Prabhupada explained, even in your work life, there's somebody superior. There's a boss that is superior to you, that you have to surrender to. So he says, yes, okay, I accept that, but on the eternal level, on the spiritual level, I don't want to accept the fact that I have to surrender to somebody. I think we should all be equal. And then he said, all the time we are surrendering. We are bowing down all the time. He said, we're bowing down to old age. We're bowing down to the laws of material nature, many of which we have zero control over, but we're forced to. They come in the form of adhyatmic, adhidaivic, and adhibodic. The miseries of life, we cannot check them, and we're constantly bowing down to them. And ultimately, we will bow down at death. And he said, the real question is not whether you will bow down. He says, where will you become happy bowing down? Where will you, because we all have to bow down at one point. But where will you be happy to bow down? So this Sankirtan movement, which was started by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda, is to give the world a place where they can become happy to bow down before Krishna. Otherwise, we put our faith somewhere else. What are the things that we have when we place our faith? In our own ability. We think we can bring about happiness in this world. We think we can become successful materially, and that will bring us happiness. And the world is just wandering in this way. So, what did Lord Chaitanya instruct Lord Nityananda to do? He said, go out to the people. He says, I want you to knock on people's doors. When you see people in the street, stop them. Bolo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Goro Krishna Shiksha. Teach them to chant Krishna's holy name. Teach them to worship Krishna. And give them instructions about the science of Krishna. So that same activity now is brought forth that we can do today. Now, Lord Chaitanya, when you look at his interactions, he engaged in conversations with people who were very respected, you could say leaders of the time. So he met with the Chankazi, and he was the governor of the region. Keshava Kashmiri, and he was the head, philosopher or poet at the time. He was Digvijay, he wasn't able to be defeated by anybody. Lord Chaitanya defeated him. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was the chief pandit of Jagannath Puri. And he converted, Lord Chaitanya converted him. Prakashananda Saraswati, he was the head of the Mayavadis. And Lord Chaitanya transformed his heart. So this is all a very, very important activity that the Lord did. Because if you are able to convince the leader, you'd actually get the followers. So whatever action a great man does, common men follow. So Lord Chaitanya, he defeated and introduced worship of Krishna on a personal level to great members of society. But just as important were the general population. And because they are just as ignorant of conditioned life. They're just as much in darkness. And sometimes you may think, okay, well, if you have a lot of money, you're not suffering. Or if you have a great position, or if you have a great education, you're not suffering. But if that education or that money only reinforces the illusion that I am my body, and does not teach you that you're an eternal servant of Krishna and how to worship Krishna, then it's all useless. Srila Prabhupada explained, these are all zeros. And unless you put a 1 in front of the zeros, it actually has no value. So you can have education, you can have money, you can have land, you can have, fame. But unless you have Krishna, they're all useless. In fact, they further degrade you. Now, those that don't have those things, those qualities in abundance, they too are suffering. Oftentimes they're trying to acquire them because they think that is how you become happy. Lord Chaitanya therefore said, go out and preach. Go out and preach this Harinam Sankirtan to everyone. So they would go door to door. He sent as a party, him and Haridas Thakur. And these same things, they happen. And we need to do more of them in service of Lord Nityananda. This is the Sankirtan movement. It's the prime benediction of this age. It is the Yuga Dharma. This is how we approach Krishna, through the chanting of the holy names, and going out in public, and broadcasting the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then when we see somebody, we say, excuse me, sir, do you know that you're an eternal spirit soul, full of bliss? But you're probably not experiencing that bliss right now, because you're too preoccupied with all of your problems that are going on in your life. But I'm convinced that if you take this book, this Bhagavad Gita, and this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and chant it, that you will become convinced that all your problems are temporary, and you can become free from them. This is the activity that Lord Nityananda did. And the same thing that we're encouraged to do as a service of Lord Nityananda. Now, do you think he encountered any difficulty? After all, he's the Supreme Lord. But do you think he encountered any difficulty? Of course he did. Why? Because even in front of God, we have our own free will. We have the choice to say, I want to surrender to God, or I don't want to surrender. Now, one of the things that's up to us is we try to create the environment that will encourage somebody to want to give their life to God. To help try to give reasons for them to have faith as opposed to not have faith. But Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur and the associates of Lord Chaitanya, as they went out to meet people, the same problems that people have today that give you the reasons why they don't want to take a book or to chant or to go deeper in their relationship with God or even talk about God, the same reasons were there. They would knock on the door and say, I don't have time for this. I'm too busy. I got my work to do. I have to worry about my children's education. You know, we have business. We got elderly parents we have to take care of. Who will have time to engage in this? Maybe I'll do it when I get older, at the end of my life. So these same obstacles were there. But at one time, they came across, well, before I get to that, but do you think they gave up? They didn't give up. Last week during the Srila Prabhupada book study, we were reading, Srila Prabhupada was encouraging the devotees who were encountering some, I guess, disinterest among the public in wanting to take to Krishna consciousness. And he mentioned these two characteristics. And these two characteristics we'll find in Lord Nityananda. And one is titiksha, tolerance and steadfastness. And the other is karunika, compassion. And Srila Prabhupada was saying is that we have to have these if we want to actually preach. Is that we have to be very tolerant. That things don't always go our way. And we're going to meet somebody and they're going to turn you down. They may even laugh at you. They may ridicule you. They may even say something even worse. They may even curse you. But it is our duty to continue to try. And why is it our duty? Because the other principle, karunika, compassion. This is the compassion that Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda had for us. And therefore we try to continue to give it. We're simply just instruments. As Krishna told Arjuna, he said, you know, everything has been taken care of. You are just instruments. You are Arjuna, as Savisachi. You are just an instrument. So we have to see ourselves in that way. We are just instruments of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. And they're servants. They're empowered servants. We are just going out on behalf of Srila Prabhupada, who crossed the ocean. He came to be with people who were on drugs, those that were eating meat, who had forgotten about, you know, they covered over in many ways, sensually focused. You know, America is a military complex which is just focused on protecting and taking over the world, acquiring as much wealth as they can. Certainly not a place which is a fertile ground for developing love of Godhead. In fact, deepening oneself into bodily consciousness, that is what America is about. But Srila Prabhupada came, and he kept trying and trying and trying. He tolerated all the difficulties. Why? Because of his overflowing compassion. Vallabha Bhatta told Lord Chaitanya, he said, the fundamental religious system of the age of Kali is chanting the holy names of Krishna. Unless empowered by Krishna, one cannot propagate the Sankirtan movement. And we can see how empowered Srila Prabhupada was by Lord Nityananda for going out and performing those same activities, following in his footsteps. Why? Out of compassion for all of us sitting here today. Jagari and Vadai are the examples, the key examples that are given. We're going to show a drama. We've done this drama several times here at the temple throughout the years, and we're looking for a drama to show, but we couldn't find a video that really captured everything. It was just through the years, technologies changed and advanced, and you know, we didn't always have the best angles, and things cut in and out. But that is the example that was given to really emphasize just how merciful Lord Chaitanya was. So as Haridas Thakur and Lord Nityananda were going house to house, they came across two really, really disturbed individuals. Now they were they were Brahmins by birth. And this goes to show you, just based on your birth, does not qualify you. Now that may give you a head start. It may give you some development. You know, you start off with good development. But you have to continue to act in such a way. But they, due to bad association, they turned into drunkards, womanizers. You know, they beat people, killed people, murdered people. They drank wine, ate meat. Now this is, Navadvip at that time was the kind of the head of spiritual thought. So they were like the real rogues of the time. Everybody feared them. They were in law enforcement. You know, the worst part about law enforcement is you have corrupt law enforcement. You have corrupt cops. You know, people that are actually given power. You know, they're given weapons, and then they take that and they use it against people. So no one could really stop them. And when they came, everybody locked their doors and they fled in different directions. Lord Nityananda said, "Who are these people?" I said, just go in the opposite direction. You don't want any part of them. He said, yes, I want a part of them. He says, I want a chance to preach to them. Now it's funny because I've experienced this when you're out on book distribution or out chanting the holy names. Sometimes you look at a person and you make a judgment. You think, this person looks like they may want to receive, they may be open to it. And there's maybe a shyness that you have, so you try to find a person that you may feel, and then you see another person, that person is not for them. And you pass on that person. This is actually not a good thing, as we can see from Lord Nityananda's example, that he saw the most degraded person, and he says, if I can make this person a follower of Lord Chaitanya, then everyone else will actually believe that this is true. They will become the examples of the extreme compassion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And if they become followers, everyone else will become a follower. So he tried, and right away, there was a really bad reaction. They chased him. Even to the point of bodily harm. Lord Nityananda was willing to try again. In fact, he knocked on people's doors. And he asked them, he begged them. He said, Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Puro Krishna Shiksha. And they said, we don't have enough time. He would roll on the ground and beg them. And he said, here, we'll give you money. We'll give you food. And he says, I don't want your money and I don't want your food. I want you to chant the Lord's names. So when he saw Jagai and Madai again, they said, you came back for more? We already told you no. Obviously, you need to be punished. So they came in. One of the brothers, Madai, he picked up a clay pot and threw it and hit Lord Nityananda in the head. Now, Lord Nityananda, as we explained earlier, he's the Supreme Lord. He's Lord Balaram. Lord Bala, Srila Prabhupada explains that Bala strength means spiritual strength, not material strength. Obviously, spiritual strength, material strength comes from spiritual strength. So sometimes we think that through my strength, I will become powerful. I can lift, a couple 100 pounds. I am strong. But everything is being upheld by this spiritual strength of Lord Balaram. In fact, Lord Balaram is the influence of gravity. And gravity is measured in this world to be 9.81 meters per second squared. Right? So, and our bodies can adjust to that. But if you raise that just a little bit, it'll squash us like a pancake. Or if we lower it just a little bit, we'll start floating, and we can't even control ourselves to be on the ground. So what is in our control, that is ultimately controlled by Lord Balaram. So he's simply just playing along with this pastime. Why? Because he wanted to save these two souls. Was he really knocked unconscious? He demonstrated that as part of the pastime. Chaitanya came rushing after hearing about the attack on Lord Nityananda. And right away he brought out his chakra. Now, we're taught that for ourselves we tolerate. And it's all over. I mean, people will speak bad about you. They will say untrue things about you. We're taught tolerate. Because you spend your whole life defending and fighting. And there'll be people outside that may even want to attack you. Lord Nityananda, he accepted it. Why? Because he wanted to show compassion. However, upon seeing another devotee being attacked, that should not be tolerated. And Lord Chaitanya, in defense of Lord Nityananda, who is playing the role and exhibiting compassion, he came and said, "This I will not tolerate." And as Lord Nityananda saw Lord Chaitanya in such a protective mood, he grabbed a hold of him and said, "Please, my Lord, this is not part of the plan. The plan is to deliver them, not to kill them. True, if you cut their heads off, they will be liberated. But we don't want to just liberate them and they go back to the Brahma Jyoti. We want to give them pure love of God. We want to transform their hearts." And upon hearing this, these two brothers, their hearts got transformed. And they fell at the feet of Lord Chaitanya. He said, "Please forgive us. Please put down your weapon." He said, "First you have to beg the mercy of Lord Nityananda." Lord Nityananda said, "Of course." He said, "Your offenses haven't even been considered." When we chant the holy names, when we approach Krishna, we don't approach Krishna directly. We first approach through Lord Nityananda. By Lord Nityananda's mercy, we can come to Lord Chaitanya. And it is Lord Chaitanya, Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya Radha Krishna Namayanya, who has revealed the true identity of Sri Radha Krishna and the mood whom I wish to serve. But sometimes people, when they come in to the temple, and they first want to offer obeisances. They go right to the top. They say, "Radha Krishna, we go to Radha Krishna, we go to Radha Krishna. Let us offer obeisances to them. We don't want to offend them. We want to show proper respect to them first." And then they come back this way to Lord Chaitanya, and then to the Guru, to our Guru, Srila Prabhupada. But that is not the way that mercy flows. It first comes through the representative. So we offer first to Srila Prabhupada and chant his pranams. And then we chant Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhaktavinda. And then getting the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda and his associates. We are then led to Krishna. It is in that order which we are instructed. So, here are some pastimes of the Lord. that we can meditate on. And I encourage you to please join us. Starting in March, we're going to be going back out on the streets. If you haven't experienced it before, we encourage you to join us. Chanting the holy names and seeing the faces of the people transformed. And even those who don't want it, just hearing it, they will be benefited. We're going to try to have as many different parties as we can as a service to Srila Prabhupada and to Lord Nityananda. And this way we can give great pleasure to them and receive their mercy. And whatever challenges we feel, uncomfortableness that we may have, pray to the Lord. Pray to Lord Nityananda to please help you overcome that, to give you the spiritual strength. Whether it's shyness, fear of rejection, fear of being seen. These are all little things, but for us it's a big thing. But we can pray to Lord Nityananda to help free us from that so that we can be of service to Him. To give us that spiritual strength, of which our material strength is insignificant. So, at this time we're going to have Kirtan, and we will do a Pushpa Abhishek of Shri Gaura Nitai. Shri Nityananda Ram Ki, Shri Nityananda Ram Ki, Shri Nityananda Ram Ki, Shri Gaura Nitai Ki. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. It's a very auspicious day. Let us pray deeply for the mercy of Lord Nityananda. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj says, his mercy is so great that he saved a fallen soul like me. And we know how great Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj was, that he wrote the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is our authorized biography of Lord Chaitanya. So if Krishnadas Kaviraj feels that way, that he was so merciful that he saved a soul like me, we can also we can start to think that way. The gratitude that we have for the Supreme Lord to come down, His most merciful incarnation. And we are so close to His connection. And that His mercy has flowed down to Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada has taken that mercy and distributed it to all of us. And it can't end here. It has to keep growing. It has to keep expanding. This is our service. This is the way that we say thank you. This is the way that we pay our gratitude to Lord Nityananda. So please let's pray deep within our hearts, for the mercy to come upon us, that we can take full advantage of that mercy. And that should really be the prayer. Srila Prabhupada says that you can't ask to save me. You can't ask to be saved. One time somebody came and said, Swamiji, only you can save me. And Prabhupada said, I cannot save you, but I can only give you the process by which you are to be saved. And he further explained, he said, if you're stuck in a deep well, somebody can drop a rope down to you, but they can't actually take your fingers and close them around the rope. So today, the mercy is bestowed upon us. Srila Prabhupada has given us his association through his books, through his disciples. He has paved the pathway so that we are connected to Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. So let us take advantage of this mercy. Let this be our prayer, that we don't waste this opportunity. And that we're able to live it ourselves and go out and give it to others. In just a month's time, less than a month's time, we're going to be celebrating the Gaur Purnima festival, the appearance day of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So between now and then, let us really prepare our hearts and think of the ways in which we are going to serve Srila Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya, and his associates in a very confidential way. Hare Krishna. There's prasadam outside for everybody to take. And starting next Sunday, the temple will be open for our Sunday feast program. We'll still be doing take-home prasadam, but the rest of the program, Kirtan, Arti, class, association, that'll be, and that's back. So we look forward to seeing all of you. Please tell your, this makes everybody happy. Because we're all missing the association, we're all missing this experience. As grateful as we are to have Zoom and YouTube and things like that, it's not the same. We all know that. Especially the kirtans aren't the same. Well, please tell people so the word gets out. Hare Krishna.
I'm so happy.